What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Black Ops 6. And in today's episode, we're covering the last of the launch marksman rifles. This is the DM-10. And starting it off as always, let's get into our damage profile. And with this gun, in the maximum damage range, we're dealing 50 damage to the body, and this means we get a 2-shot kill up close, and then beyond that, it will be a 3-shot kill out to an infinite range. Then when it comes to headshots, in the maximum damage range, it doesn't do anything for you since we can't get a 1-shot headshot with this gun. However, in that second damage range, just one headshot mixed in with body shots will maintain a 2-shot kill potential, which is nice to know. And then taking one step further back to the next range, you can still get a 2-shot kill, but at that point, both shots need to hit the head, unless you're using the CHF barrel, in which case you will still get a 2-shot kill by just landing 1 shot to the body and 1 shot to the head. As for our rate of fire cap, this is 300 rounds per minute, which is quite slow and very achievable for the average player out there. And what this means is with a 2-shot kill, we're killing in just 200 milliseconds, which is a solid time to kill for this game. However, the moment it takes you that 3rd shot to kill, it will actually double your time to kill up to 400 milliseconds. Now, if you want to speed that up, we can put rapid fire on this gun for a rate of fire cap of 349 rounds per minute. And now our 2-shot time to kill potential is just 172 milliseconds, which is quite competitive even with SMGs up close. As for our ranges, that maximum damage range, or our 2-shot kill range to the body, extends to just over 25 meters. So not a bad range, but also not amazing. It's really not stretching out all that far. However, we do have an excellent bullet velocity at 850 meters per second, which does give us a 42.5 meter hit scan range. And as a result, since we have such a good bullet velocity, I would highly recommend going with the long barrel on this, which will boost all of our range values by 30%, and that's especially important with that 2-shot kill range, which is still nowhere near what our hit scan range will be. However, I also wanted to point out, if you've got it unlocked, there is no reason whatsoever to use the gain twist barrel over the reinforced barrel, since the reinforced barrel gives you the same boost to your bullet velocity, and it gives you a 15% range boost on top of that. Additionally, something quite interesting with this gun is using the rapid fire attachment has no impact whatsoever on our range or velocity, which is a bit out of the ordinary. Most guns will see a slight reduction to both of those values. After that, for hardcore modes, we're obviously dealing a ton of damage with this gun per shot, and therefore it will be a guaranteed 1-shot kill anywhere in the body at any range, unless you're shooting through really thick cover, but even shooting through cover, this will often maintain a 1-shot kill potential. Then when it comes to hipfire, it's pretty much just average for a marksman rifle, and that is to say that it's not very good at hipfiring, and you probably want to avoid that unless you happen to be in a really close quarter situation and you just have no other option. As for recoil, the DM-10 is quite accurate and easy to control. However, it's definitely worth noting there is a pretty big jump between the first and second shot that you fire. After that, it settles in really nicely. It's super easy to control. Next, I did want to take a look at a unique attachment on this, which is the buffer weight stock, which will drastically improve our recoil, but it does come at the cost of our aim down sight speed and our aim walking speed. But looking at it here, my tests were actually very inconsistent with this. The first recoil plot was super tight, super accurate, especially that gap between the first and second shot that was really cut down nicely. But then the second recoil plot, for some weird reason, had noticeably more recoil to it. Now, it still saw an improvement to that first shot recoil, but this inconsistency combined with the fact that it really harms our aim down sight speed means that I'm typically going to avoid this one. As for the CHF barrel, this one really increases that jump between the first and second shot fired, and again, every shot after that, it's still reasonably accurate, but especially when you consider the fact that this really only starts to come into play at really long ranges, I just don't recommend using the CHF barrel on this gun at all. And then finally, we've got rapid fire. And with rapid fire, well, it looks like the total magnitude of recoil is really, really high compared to the base recoil. This is just due to the fact that since we're firing faster, we're not recentering between each of those shots as much. And at the end of the day, this is still quite manageable and controllable as long as you're not going for like extremely long range gunfights. So I wouldn't get too discouraged by this recoil plot. Next, let's get into our handling stats. And our aim down sight time is quite slow at 350 milliseconds. Whereas our sprint out time is pretty much just standard for a marksman rifle. It's not amazingly fast, but it's not too bad at 215 milliseconds. And then finally, for our slide to fire and dive to fire times, both of these are just standard for marksman rifles. At the end of the day, looking at these handling values, it's pretty clear that this isn't the type of gun you're going to be rushing around like crazy with, unless you really stack heavy on attachments to help in those areas. But after that, let's have a look at our reload time, which is pretty standard for a marksman rifle at 1.73 seconds. That's not too bad considering this 20-round magazine actually lasts a decent amount of time considering the fire rate. However, if you want to speed that up, we could go with a smaller mag and go with the Flip Mag or the Fast Mag 2 attachment and get a very noticeably faster reload, or you could use Fast Mag 1, which gives you the same magazine capacity but just a faster reload. And then the other options are to increase our magazine capacity with extended mag 1 or 2, but those will be harming your reload time by quite a bit. At the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with the base mag on this though. And then finally for stats, we have our mobility stats, and across the board, we're pretty standard here for marksman rifles, nothing out of the ordinary. It's not really going to get you from point A to point B nearly as fast as something like an SMG or assault rifle even. So like all the other marksman rifles, it just doesn't excel here. And with that, it's now time to move into some excellent attachment combinations I've got for you guys with the DM-10. And the first one I wanted to share is my more aggressive, flanky, stealthy build. And with this one, I don't want to zoom in too far, so I don't like the default optic with this particular setup. So I'm using the Kepler Microflex, the suppressor to stay off the radar, the quick draw grip to help cut down our aim down sight time to 265 milliseconds, the combat stock to help a bit with flinch resistance, which is definitely very welcome with this gun since it does experience a lot of flinch, but it also helps slightly with our aim walking speed, which is helpful for a build like this. And then finally, we're topping this off with rapid fire. And with this, we can see quite a high magnitude of recoil, but as I mentioned earlier, when using rapid fire with this, it's really easy to control this since it does climb up so slowly due to the slow fire rate. And I do find it's really easy to just counteract that recoil as you're shooting for the most part. Obviously, this isn't going to be your best bet for like super long range picks or anything, but that's not what this class setup is really designed for. It's more so designed for those smaller to mid-sized maps if you want to use the DM-10 while getting around the map a bit more aggressively and staying off the radar. As for the next setup I've got for you guys, this one is far more versatile. This is my Gunfighter build. And with this, I'm sticking with the default optic. We've got the ported compensator, which on this gun, this is the best muzzle for recoil control based on my testing and just based on feel as well. It definitely feels better than the others, especially because it cuts down drastically on that first shot recoil. We're also using the long barrel on here, so we get that 30% boost to our range, and now we have our 2-shot kill potential at 33 meters. We're using the precision handguard combined with the target laser to effectively eliminate idle sway entirely, so you don't have to worry about that at all. And also with that precision handguard, it does help a little bit with horizontal recoil control. We have Fast Mag 1, which is the one that maintains the 20-round magazine capacity while just giving us a faster reload. We have the quick draw grip to give us a 265 millisecond aim down sight time. We have the heavy stock for a 40% reduction to our flinch, so that's going to be very helpful, especially in longer range fights if you are taking fire. And then finally, we're topping this off with the overpressured ammo, which will give us an amazing bullet velocity at 1,020 meters per second. So with this one, it's quite accurate, especially when you eliminate that jump between the first and second shot fired. So you can handle yourself at really long ranges, no problem. But I would say it tends to excel at like mid ranges where you're still in the 2-shot kill potential, but you're not so close that your optic is now zoomed in too far that you can't hit somebody that's moving around like crazy on your screen. And then finally, this leaves us with one last build I wanted to share, and this is my versatile build. This is actually my personal favorite if I'm not using the Gunfighter wildcard with the DM-10. And with this, we're using the default optic. We once again have the ported compensator, the long barrel, the heavy stock. This time, we're using the Strelic laser, which doesn't directly impact our aim down sight speed, but it gives us near instant full accuracy the moment I start aiming down sight, so it actually allows you to be quite aggressive with this gun, while still getting your shots on target. And then finally, we're topping this off with the recoil springs, and with all of this combined, we have a very accurate version of this gun on our hands. Once again, we're basically eliminating that extra first shot recoil that we normally experience with this, which is really nice when you're two-tapping people, which you should hopefully be more often than not. However, if you want to stretch beyond that 33-meter 2-shot kill range, this gun can still handle that just fine, and you can get your 3-shot kill without any issues whatsoever. So if I am looking for a nice all-arounder without using the Gunfighter wildcard, this is absolutely the build I'm going for with the DM-10. And there we go. That's going to wrap it up today's gun guide on the DM-10. As for my thoughts on this gun, I really like it for what it is. It's definitely a change of pace. It takes a little bit more skill, a little bit more effort to use than like a full auto assault rifle or SMG. But I find if you're willing to put the time in to learn how to use this properly, and you get some key attachments on there, this gun does rely fairly heavily on attachments. I actually find you can find a ton of success with it. It's really consistent and pretty easy to get some kills with as well. Now, of course, those are just my opinions, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about the DM-10 in those comments down below. And if you guys have missed any of the previous gun guides, we've now covered all of the assault rifles, SMGs, and marksman rifles that are currently in the game. I will leave a link to the playlist down below. If you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.